This topic is about basically the future of the American family. So I asked Chat GPT question. The question is, with the state of the households in America being a vast number of them single mother led households and marriage being mostly boomers and silent generation and upper classes, what do you see the next 10 to 20 years of America's future, basically? So I was just reading this. I was like, you know what? Let me just go live because I think it'll just be better. Plus, it really wasn't nothing else interests me as far as any content. So I guess I'll provide some. So let me read this real quick. This is, let's see, it's not that lengthy. I've wrote papers, that were longer than this. That was due the night before as well. I've done it many times, but yeah, let me get right into this here. The trends you've highlighted: rising single mother households, declining marriage rates, especially among younger and lower income Americans, and the concentration of traditional family structures among older generations and the upper class suggests significant societal and economic shifts over the next 10 to 20 years. I've pre-read this a little bit. Some of these I've already talked about. Some people have already predicted this. A lot of these things are already going on as well. But let's go right into it. It says, number one, economic and class divergence, wealth gap expansion. First bullet point. Marriage is increasingly a marker of economic privilege as dual incomes and shared assets boost stability. Upper class families will continue building generational wealth, while single parent households disproportionately lower income may struggle with poverty, childcare costs, and limited upward mobility. See, that's the thing where basically I'll stop here and say that's the thing about, like, the whole system. Like, um basically, one of the things about investing and one of the things about being rich and wealthy, primarily wealthy, is that if you do it right and you keep consistently building wealth, like, let's just say you start off with 100,000, you get to a million, 10 million, you just keep climbing. It does not stop, because just the potential to make more money off of your own money is why the wealthy just live way different than everybody else. They have way more money and it does not stop. It's like imagine, how can I explain this? Imagine basically a river flowing, because that's kind of like currency, right? So rivers flow nonstop and it goes through a dam and the dam creates energy. That's kind of how it is when you have so much money coming in, right? And you already have a bunch of money, and your money is making money every single minute, every single second, every single day. And it's like a lot of people don't understand how that actual formula is what people are working towards. I mean, they desire that, but it's like they don't. A lot of people don't understand the wealth position at the top. Let's just hop top 20%, even top 50 wealthy individuals, families in this country, just even just this country. I'm not gonna even go into the world, but like once you get to that position where you are making an exponential amount of money, you never you're not going to, one, if you do it right, go back down. Two, you ain't never going to not do anything but make more money, because basically your money is making more money. Like that's the thing. People don't understand, how this system works is based off of, like, it's a momentum game. And the people at the top, the momentum is crazy. They still, like, it's still momentum when if you're a billionaire or multi-billionaire, multi-millionaire, it's still a game of momentum. So if you got, 10 million, $100 million in the bank, your money, you still trying to double your money. You still trying to take that 100 million to you trying to double it to 200 million, and you're going to make money. Even if, like I say, if you wanted to be lazy, a savings account has like at least a 4% or higher interest rate, and it's other places that have a higher interest rate. And I mean, I'm looking at stuff like, for example, even on Webull, you could put your money in ETF that's based off of Warren Buffett's trading strategy, and that particular ETF will net you like 12%. So if you park $10 million in there, you're gonna make 12% off of your money. And that's pretty much, that's like basically 1.2 million just off of you just parking your money, I mean, into some ETF or something. Like, it's a lot of different ways, but like, people just do not understand how compounded people that have wealth, uh just, I mean, when I say wealth, I'm talking 10 million above and above, or even I would, yeah, at least 10 million or above. I would even say 5 million or above. You could just make more money based off of just the fact that you already have it. Like, I'm not going to say it's easy to invest or make more money, but it is pretty easy. Like, for example, I made, just off of my scans, like, I didn't have really anything coming up on my scans until like around 2 o'clock in the day. No, not 2 o'clock. It was like 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock. Like, I have a scanner that basically a Python scanner, market scanner that I scan, and it's based off of basically indicators that is based off of Merrill Lynch, like the indicators that he uses for his funds. But basically, I didn't see anything come up, so I just went for whatever was the hottest stocks for that day. So I chose a stock that, it was a company called, I believe, called Momentous, and ironically, and they got a contract with, I believe, NASA or something like that. And that stock went up like over 20% in one day. So, like, okay, I made like, only had like a little over $100 in my account. I made $27. So that's like a 20 something percent like gain. So imagine you got $10 million or $100 million, and you made a 22% gain, or you have, your stockbroker, they made you a 20%, it made you a 20% gain just in one day, and, off of your money, and basically, they made you $20,000, off your $100 million. So it's like, yeah, like, people just do not understand how just basically the more money you have, the more it's going to be consolidated, and the more you're going to make, the more consistently you just going to be, like, just in a class all by yourself, like almost in a bubble as far as you financially speaking. You not have to worry about what most people have. You got to think about what most people worry about. What do most people worry about? They worry about their housing. They worry about their transportation. They worry about food, their kids, like taking care of their kids, and then healthcare. Those like five worries. Once you have over a liquid, I would say 100,000 or more, or even a million or more. Those issues, the more you make, those issues, you're still concerned about them, but it's not very much a concern. Like, it's really not. Like, only thing that is a concern is like basically you concerned about mortality and you concerned about health. But you have enough money to be provided the best health care naturally or um medically, that you want to actually, that you have access to, because you have the money, you have the means. So yeah, like that's just a whole nother level than most people. Most people are very, very concerned. They gotta go to work, they gotta do a bunch of things and go through a lot of stress in order to cover those basic five things, right? That I just mentioned. And it's like, yeah, people that have money, the more the merry. They do not have to worry about those things. Those things are not a concern. So um the second bullet point in the economic and class divergence, child outcomes. More importantly, this is very important. Child from single parent homes who are already at higher risk of poverty and lower educational attainment may face compounding disadvantages, deepening inequality. Okay. So I mean that's pretty much, that's duly noted. Everybody knows that. So number two, political and cultural polarization. There's two bullet points in here. First one is values divide. The erosion of marriage among working class Americans could fuel cultural resentment, with some blaming elites or government for declining family stability. I mean, that's pretty much the sentiments. You hear that all on YouTube. I mean, pretty much, yep, blaming the elites or the government for the declining family stability. Progressives may push for expanded welfare, child care, paid leave, while conservatives could emphasize family values, rhetoric without structural solutions. um, they kind of threw the conservatives under the bus on that one, but yeah. Second bullet point: gender dynamics. As single motherhood becomes more common, debates over male responsibility, child support, absentee fathers, and wild economic independence will intensify. So yeah, I mean, the whole thing is this, right? I did a meme on Facebook, and basically it said a, a lot of single mothers push their father away, the father of the children. Women are really weird, like in a sense of the things that they do is just kind of like almost, it's like lies with manipulation, like lies on top of, like, it's lies with the added sauce of a manipulation. So like what women will do was quite common. Even the rich women, even in like, you look at the DDG and the Holly Bailey situation, right? So what they do is, they do this a lot. This is very common. This is like a very common, like, dark female nature of what women do with women with children. So they'll push the father away from the children, or even try to get away or run away from the father of their children, right? Then will push the narrative to people around them, close friends and family syndrome, where, because a lot of times women vie for attention for other women, primarily to get support, to get rally support around them. So they'll come up with these lies to get support, you know. And basically, one of those lies is the father's a deadbeat, knowing, well, if you ask questions, which, women don't really like men be talking to men, because most men, if they have any type of backbone, they're going to try to get to the bottom of things, and they're going to ask some questions. Well, okay, is he a deadbeat? So do you have contact with him? Do you have his number? Yeah, I got his number. Do you know where he lives? Does he know where you live? You know, she'd probably be like, you're asking too many questions at that point, and when was the last time that you spoke to him? And, you know, what is the drama? You start asking a bunch of questions, you start to get to the bottom of basically finding out this woman is full of shit and she's lying, basically, or she'll just not want to talk to you anymore, and cease to communicate with you because you're exposing her lies. But that's very common. There's a very common narrative. Not saying, I don't know how many women do that, but that is, like, usually, I'll say one of the things that I notice about the women that do that, they're not really confident, and they're kind of weird at the same time. Kind of like they're not really like confident, and they're kind of weird. Like, one of the things I notice about, like, Halle Bailey, right? Or I said Holly Baby. Holly Bailey is she's heavily under the influence by her, like, kind of like Beehive, kind of Queen Bee sister, her older sister, which is, I believe, I forgot what her other sister is named, but her older sister is like kind of a little bit more, like, she looks a lot better than Hallie. Um, and she's more popular to a certain extent. Well, I guess not popular, but she's got more confidence. Definitely. Like, her older sister is more kind of confident, kind of outspoken. Hallie seems kind of shy and reserved, kind of like, a recluse, and it's like, that's one of the things that's one of the things I notice about women that do stuff like that. They're not, like, not really confident, and they tend to be influenced by others, by, like, they're the person that you could send off because they're naive, and they really listen to others, especially if they're women and someone close to them. They'll just basically listen to them and be totally sent off. And then they might understand how they got sent off when they got older, but the damage was already done. So um that that is, that. But number 3, moving along here, is demographics and labor market shifts. So, a couple bullet points here. First bullet point is aging population. With fewer stable families to support elders, pressure on Social Security and elder care systems will grow. Boomers' wealth will increasingly pass to their mostly married heirs, exacerbating wealth concentration. Okay, so a lot of the boomers, their wealth is going to go to their wives and children. So some of that wealth is going to be transferred to younger generations, and probably the boomer males will pass on the money to their wives, and their wives going to enjoy it till they ultimately pass. I mean, you're starting to see that now. The Hulk Hogan's, the different people that's passed. Um, the Ozzy Osbournes, like they passing away, and then their wives are old as them, or if not older, but they're still around. They outlive their husband, and they get to share their wealth, and then they're going to ultimately pass their wealth to their children. So it's going to be, saying the aging population is definitely an issue. So the second bullet point is workforce challenges. Single parents may face barriers to education, training, limiting labor productivity. Employers could face pressure for flexible work policies or exploit precarious workers in gig economies. All right. Number 4, policy and institutional responses. Welfare state expansion. The U.S. may, there's a couple bullet points here, actually 3. It says the U.S. may see gradual moves toward universal child care, expanded tax credits, or even basic income to offset family instability through political gridlock, though political gridlock could delay this. All right, so that would be something the Democrats probably will be trying to push, if not already have tried to push. And they said it possibly could get gridlocked. So, second bullet point: alternate family structures, cohabitation, multi-generational homes, and communal living may rise as substitutes for marriage, but without legal or financial safeguards. So kind of like basically women living in like communes with other women type of thing, even multi-family homes. A lot of women with children, they do live with their mother. I don't know the percentage. I guess I could find that. Like a lot of single mothers live with their mom, and like kind of like a lion pride. They live with their mother, and they raise their children together. um Especially now, you got a lot of women, a lot of black women getting laid off, getting let go from their job. They're going to have to go live with their mother or their parents if they're still alive, or other family members. They're already going through that right now. Like, you got to understand, like, with, a lot of them are probably getting um, unemployment, or they trying to look for work, or they might have to, get another job, maybe something that they don't really want to do. But a lot of these women are going to have to live with their mothers because they're not going to have enough money to pay for an apartment or for a house, a mortgage or whatever. They're not going to be able to do that. So that's gonna be something that's gonna probably increase, I would say. A lot of women, they're going to be living, a lot of women, even with kids, are going to be living with their parents, primarily their mothers, because a lot of grandparents now, they they live, a lot of the grandparents are single now. Like a lot of the women that, like, there's multi-generational single mother households. So like basically a lot of the grandmothers now, they're single. So they're gonna be probably living with their single mother, that is the grandmother of their kids. But it says basically that 15.6 million households are headed by single mothers, and mm, they say about, out of the single mothers, about 25% of single mothers live with their actual mother. So a lot of people don't, this is very but much a bomb drop, because a lot of people don't understand that. People think women just got kids, and they're on Section 8, or they're living a single life and they're living in an apartment, or they got a house. No, this data, it shows that, kind of what a lot of women are keeping quiet is that these women are single with children, and they're living with their mother. Their mother is helping them basically raise children, and also pay for their cost of living. It's basically, the cost of living is probably little to nothing. They're basically probably cooking for their parents or their mother, um and basically probably helping out. And then older woman is, she might not like the fact that her daughter is in the house, but she likes her grandkids. She likes seeing her grandkids every day. I know my mother, she liked that. So yeah, that's a big point. Like, 25, like, again, 25% of single mothers live basically with their parents. You know what I'm saying? And it's going to probably increase, because you got a lot of layoffs, like I said. So that's very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Okay. All right. So that's a key point right there. All right. So the third bullet point is religious and community networks. Churches and nonprofits may play a larger role in filling the gaps: food, aid, mentorship, particularly in conservative areas. Now, here's the thing, right? America actually has a problem. It has a major problem when it comes to this. And it's this point here: religious and community networks. Well, primarily the Gen Xers, the Xers, and the millennials, and onward, and even Z's, they have ditched religion. They have pretty much, this is a primarily Christian country. Basically, a lot of the younger generations have stopped going to church. They no longer either call themselves Christians, or they call themselves Christians that basically are basically non-practicing Christians, or don't go to church. So basically, there's a steep drop into basically, society, and is based off of, basically a lot of people pretty much losing these Christian values that have basically held America up for generations, for hundreds of years. They're not holding those Christian values or going to church anymore. So you see a downward decline in America based off of A lot of people not being grounded in the church, especially the black community. One of the black powers in the black community is the church. The black church was traditionally a power source for the black community. So with them abandoning the black church, that is a huge problem. And I would even say, roughly speaking, that might also play a role in why people are having hard times meeting each other and everything like that. I mean, basically, the church is a very good place to meet a woman in America. Like, even if you're, I'm gonna be honest, like, even if you're probably not even religious, the church is, one of the places you can meet a quote unquote woman that might be somewhat deserving. Like, I mean, like, yeah, that's traditionally even where people met, right? So, people not going to church anymore. That's one less place that you're gonna meet someone because you're not going there. And that's a traditional place that people went to go meet their spouses, right? In this country for generations, for over 100 years, right? So that is something right there. That is, basically it's going to play that's already playing a big role in the decline of America. So number 5 is long-term societal risks. And it's two bullet points here. First bullet point is social fragmentation. Declining family cohesion could weaken community ties. Increasing loneliness and distrust already seen in rising mental health crisis. So a lot of people are lonely, right? Now, I will say they talk about male loneliness. Now, men can be more lonely than women. Men can, I'm not saying all men, but a lot of men, especially if they're introverts, they can deal with long-term loneliness. Because men have adapted for, I would even say, going back to even the hunter gathering days, being in the cave, or, being in sheltered in place for long periods of time. Men have adapted to long-term boredom and isolation, and basically being quote unquote lonely. So it's not really an epidemic. Like, men actually don't really need much to kind of fill that void. Men have a lot of things that they can do, like pour into their car or be car enthusiasts, or just basically lean into their hobbies, like being a car enthusiast, gaming, computing or building computers, and doing programming, coding, um, doing certain hobbies and tasks that does not necessarily involve the opposite sex. Men are totally okay with basically being lonely, in a sense of not having a woman in a relationship and children even, and just, basically living their lives, being extremely isolated and bored, or just, not really in a relationship. Men have the wild card as far as dealing with that. It's not necessarily a good thing that helps the overall country, and it helps the decline. It only widens the decline, because women, on the opposite end of that, they are not adapted to be lonely. They are not adapted to be isolated. Women need the protection of men. They need constant reassurance. A lot of times, depending on the woman, they need a lot of people to fill their void, and depend on other women to feel that a lot of times, and they do not fare well in loneliness and isolation. So they have the edge because what women can do is they can put out sexual access in order to basically uh, attract a partner to feel their isolation or loneliness. They can basically grant someone a male sexual access in order to for them not to be lonely. Okay. Men don't necessarily have the ability to do that like that. It's not men have to sell themselves a little bit more than women have to. It's almost like, when if you wanted to compare men and women almost like they have crack, right? Like a crackhead, you don't really have to sell a crackhead crack. He's gonna or heroin. There, all you have to do is have a dope spot, or you have a corner, or whatever, a block, and then the dope fiends are just gonna keep coming back to that one spot. Crackheads are gonna keep coming to that one spot. And it's like, yeah, women already have crack and dope, down down below, right? Like it sells itself. It doesn't need that much sales pitch and all of that. You just basically it sells itself, right? Well, men don't have it like that. I'll say certain men might have it like that, to a certain extent. Maybe men that are like cover models or something like that. you know um the prison bay, some type of dudes, like, yeah, they might be able to sell themselves easier, but men have to sell themselves. They have to sell themselves to literally get women, like literally, like like literally, like if you're a good salesman, you're probably okay in the department of being able to get women, because like literally that's how you get women. It's literally a lot of times a negotiation. It's your market. You got to market yourself to get a woman, right? Depending on who you are and what you look like and how tall you are, the easier that is. I'm not gonna lie, aesthetics. If you got accessories and stuff like that, what I mean by accessories, I mean like you have a nice car, you might have a nice watch that you're presenting, you might have nice clothes and fragrances and everything like that. Those are all like accessories. Those are like peacocking. But yeah, women see those things or see you, that sparks up an interest. Then they might look at you, and then that look is, okay, I might like this dude. This woman might like me. Let me go ahead and sell myself to this woman that's looking at me. I think I might have a sale. Hold on. And then you go sell yourself, you go get the number. Next thing you go out. She says, yeah, she really likes you. She like how tall you are, or she like your dimple, she like your dick print, whatever the case may be. You seal the deal, or whatever. That's usually how it works. But with women, they don't have to go through all of that. Like they have literally, like I say, it's like selling crack and heroin, which I've never done. I never sold crack or sold dope. So I've seen people do it, and I've seen how people act that are on it, and you don't have to sell it. Like it sells itself. Same, because basically you got women have what every man wants and even other women want between their legs. And, you know, um below their neck, like, um they have everything, ass, tits, and camel toe, like everybody everybody wants that, and they got it, right? So it's a very, they don't really have to much try to sell themselves, it pretty much is, it already pretty much it sells itself. Men have to actually market and sell. They have to be like damn near businessmen to, get the opposite sex. They have to sell themselves. They have to market themselves, They have to be, they have to basically almost get hired from a woman. A woman has to hire them, accepts them as a candidate for them to be hired, onto their, you know, in their company, right? It's almost like the song and dance, right? But yeah, like, those things have a role. Okay. So number 5, it says long-term societal risks, social fragmentation. Declining family cohesion could weaken community ties. Oh, I already read that. Okay. Second bullet point, fertility decline. If marriage becomes unattainable for many, birth rates may drop further, straining entitlement systems and economic growth. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of what's going on. I mean, it is still a lot of women advocating to be single mothers or just choosing to be single mothers because of various different reasons. But it's still a lot of women that are just opting out of children altogether, and they're determined to be kind of basically long-term spinsters and not actually have any children. So that's going to further, decline the birth rate, right? Even women, they champion that the fact that they have something to do with them being not with child or have any children. They're one of the reasons why the birth rate is declining, right? So those things are going to have, long-term societal risks, as this, is saying. The conclusion: America is heading toward a two-tier family system with marriage a luxury. I've said this shit. I said this over a year ago. I said marriage is because, okay, so like basic is married. So literally marriage is turning into a luxury. Like marriage is like a fucking a Rolex watch. It used to not be that. Like you could get married at Las Vegas, you could get married at a courthouse, and but like no, like now marriage is like, yeah, like a luxury. It's become a luxury because only the elites, most of the elites are married, like almost 70, like 70 something percent. The let me look up something. I gotta look up something because that I need to know. I know the wealthy are primarily married, but I need to know what the marriage rates for the poor and the wealthy in America. Because I know what the elites, what the marriage rate for the upper class is. Like I say, 70%, but I don't know what the marriage rate is for the poor, basically. Uh, I'll just say marriage rate by class. I like doing this. It's like an educational live stream that the actual person administering the live stream is actually learning on the fly while they're presenting. Like it's very interesting. Um, let me see here. All right, so it automatically gave me the U.S., which is great because I forgot to put that. All right. Okay. All right. It didn't give me the mirror. Oh, it's still going. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So this to go further into the rabbit hole. So this is the marriage rate of the upper class. So this is the top 30%, top 20, top 30 percentile of income earners in America. The marriage rate is like I say, 75%. Okay. Um, Middle class is, and these are basically 40 to 50 percentile as far as earners in America, which some people say the middle class, the educational system says the middle class is like $50,000. And it's like, no, that is not the middle class, but that's what the books say. So that's what we'll go by. But in my opinion, middle class starts at about 10 times that, which is 50,000. I mean, 500,000, the true middle class, because of inflation and everything like that, and a lot of things. Okay. But it says their marriage rate is 50 to 60% or 60 percentile. The lower class or working class is like basically the bottom 30% is like basically uh 30%. So 30% marriage rate for the lower class, lower income Americans. So um that's pretty much what's going on. Marriage is a luxury. It says, I'm gonna read this again. America's heading toward a two-tier family system, with marriage a luxury of the educated and wealthy, and single parenthood the norm for others. And that's why a lot of women get abortions, and I don't want to be stigmatized. They know this is a class thing. This being a single mother is associated with the lower classes, and that is why I've said this before. Most people, they pretend to actually be higher class. That's why they have the cars they have. Women are notorious for this. Women absolutely go out of their way to basically show off as if they are a higher class than what they are. Men are in between in this, but if I had to say who does this more, definitely women. They do this. Even black women, knowing black people have very, very much a lot of class issues in itself, a lot of racism that they have to deal with. Black women still go out of their way to try to get brand new cars, knowing, and it's no black car manufacturer that I know of, that exists, so in America, right? And they go out and they go and support other people, other companies, and they go out and try to buy all kinds of new things and fancy things in order to put on as if they're a higher class, or even rich, right? That's the thing. No matter lower class to higher, that's what they do, right? So the thing is that a lot of them on a lower class do that, and basically, one of the things that the reason why they do that is because that's what damn near everybody does. I will admit that everybody tries to cosplay wealthy people. The wealthy people in the country set the tone. They set the tone as far as they set the communications. They set what people wants to drive, where people want to live, because they got the nice shit, they can afford the nice stuff, right? So people trying to follow them and mimic them and everything like that. And one of the things about also the whole being a single parent, they don't want to, that's associated with poor. poor people. So, being a single parent is, it's acceptable in certain parts, like, in a middle class or lower middle class community. Being a single parent is pretty much, you could kind of fit in, right? But if you go in upper class communities, people gonna give you a side eye. They're gonna look at you like, where did you come from? Did you come from the slums? Where's your husband? People might even ask you, where is your husband? Like, so, yeah, I mean, it is still something that is, it's a cultural, uh, uh, it's a cultural abnormality that is associated. Being a single mother is a cultural abnormality that is normally associated with lower classes. So that's why, the whole abortion thing and all of that, because being a single mother is associated with that. So the next decade will likely see either a backlash with renewed emphasis on marriage incentives or pivot toward European style welfare supports, which, in case you didn't know, in Europe, they get free damn near everything. It's free education, like, I mean, K through college. Okay, free education, free healthcare, and other things. Even in Canada, it's free healthcare, free education, K through 20 education, all pretty much taxed. I think they're taxed more than the average American to pay for all of those things, and then they do all kind of other shit, like, you know try to go in that, different countries and take over mineral rights and all of that to try to bring that money back to their country so they can take care of these, welfare, systems and everything. But yeah, like, that is, they're saying that might be something that is the trajectory to kind of support this. But I'll say my opinion later. I'll close out with my opinion. Let me further read this. It was saying something about a future outlook. They've already said that. They already pointed that out. All right, so I'll just say this. I mean, as far as what I see is, I think that there's going to, yes, be a marriage decline. A lot of the boomers are passing away. They're mostly still alive. A lot of the boomers are still married. They're holding up. The silent generation and the boomers are holding up marriage. Okay, so once they pass away, eventually the marriage rate will make a huge drop, because I think they were holding up a lot of the marriage statistics, as far as those that are actively still married, and basically it's still going to be a luxury. It's going to be ever so, right now I would say marriage is like a Rolex watch, which is, you can get a Rolex watch for about anywhere between 1,000 or more, 10,000, 5,000. It's gonna be probably more exclusive or luxury than that. Like, it's becoming a upper class state of, or upper class institution. Marriage has become an upper class institution, because basically, for whatever reason, highly educated people, and also people that have a lot of money or wealth, they tend to do better at getting married and actively staying married. I guess money does have something to do with it, right? So basically, it's going to continue to go that way. I think even the wealthy, the upper classes, their divorce or marriage rates will decline slightly, probably like 10%. Birth rates is going to still continue to drop, most likely. Um, and the poor is gonna still get poor. You know, people that don't want to do certain things, it's just going to be, it's just going to be how it is right now. I mean, what do you got now? You got the fucking U.S. government, the basically Trump administration, just basically saying it should be a full police state. That is like not like you talking about it. No, actually full police state. FBI, like I literally saw in Washington D.C. literally like the FBI on patrol in D.C. like they're basically like CPD in Chicago. Which I would say DC is, that might be kind of normal or maybe the new normal in DC. But it's like basically, a lot of these, people that act the way they act is because they're the products of single mothers. Unfortunately, we can talk about the fathers, maybe the fathers, maybe some of them are deadbeats or whatever. But the fact remains is a lot of these young guys that act the way they act in the Chicagos and the DCs and the Baltimores and the, different parts of the country, it's one factor that is a main factor in why they present, why they behave, why they act the way they do. And when you ask them, were you raised in a 2-parent household, most of them will tell you no. That is a fact. That ain't something I did. I didn't have nothing to do with that. Even though, I mean, I will say to a certain extent, you know, I have my brunt to bear. I probably did play a role in that, or I'm playing a role in that now. But, the thing is that, it is a factor. It is a definite factor. Like, if you choose the wrong woman, or if you just, whatever. I mean, you got babies out here, the chances of them being a stable, sound body and mind individual is just a lot harder. I'm not saying all of children that are single mom raised are outside and going crazy. A lot of that, it's just women, a lot of mothers, they just not stern. Like sternness a lot of times come from men, because men tend to be stern. A lot of the thing that I notice about mothers, they want to be their children's friend. They like, the friend moms are the worst. The friend moms are like, the worst moms. And I'm talking about the friend moms that don't want to administer any discipline. They don't want to do certain things because they talking about they don't want to see their children hurt or feel, any pain or struggle or anything like that. So they don't put their foot down, because you don't put your foot down on your friend, because you want your friend to be, you want to please your friend so so they can continue to be your friend. So you're not going to punish them. You're not going to do anything, because that's your friend. That's your homie, your pal. So they tend to have that approach to, like, butter up their children. They tend to, a lot of women tend to be friend moms. And like I say, that is dangerous, because your children are not your friends. They're your future. Like, that's your lineage, your legacy. As the newest societal members of the United States, they're going to be citizens. They're going to vote. They're going to have to work. They're going to have to, might even fight for the country. I mean, and you're raising these young kids to be your friend. And then when they get teenagers, they're really your friends. You damn near going to you taking club pictures with them. You drinking with them, smoking weed with them, having a good time with your friends. But meanwhile, your friends were not your friends. They were your children. And then, your children got older. because now they believe their peer group is adults because you're their fucking friend and you're an adult. So then they're talking to other people disrespectful and cussing other people out because in their mind they're a fucking adult because their mom is their fucking friend. So, they're disrespectful to every fucking body, and probably even seeing their mom be disrespectful to other people and get away with it. So they go out and they try to do the same thing, and then they go get arrested and go get locked up or worse. And that's how that shit, just imagine millions of people having the same type of behavior based off of the behavior of these single mothers that try to be their friend, try to be their children's friend, and that's why you have a lot of this, in these lower class areas and even middle class areas and black community and whatever community nearest you that have this type of element, and the thing is that now you're looking at things as like, it's a full government police state, where you see the National Guard on the corner. You see FBI's walking, doing foot patrol. Like I've seen FBI before. I've seen FBI before. I've seen black cars, with unmarked plates and, blue lights and red and blue lights. I've seen FBI. Okay. But if you think about it, if you really, really seriously think about it, if you're not really near a major city or you in the suburbs or even if you're in a city, you don't see the FBI. Like they are, pretty much a specialized unit that, tend to work in covert missions and covert investigations. Like you could be under FBI investigation right now. You wouldn't even fucking know because you don't see them. They're like a ghost, So now you got FBI walking around in broad daylight, doing foot pursuits and foot patrol, and it's like, yeah, I mean, this is the new normal, right? And I'm gonna be honest, I kind of think it's appropriate. I think it's totally appropriate. Trump is talking about going to Chicago. I mean, shit. First term he was threatening going to Chicago. I say, hey, why not? But I mean, I think that I don't think he will. I don't think that he's going to bring the federal law enforcement or federal government necessarily to Chicago or anywhere else. I think DC was in his backyard, so naturally it was like the proximity to the White House and everything. He decided to act in DC. I don't think he's going to go outside of DC, but I don't know. But the thing is that this is the product of these single mother communities. All you got to do is do a demographic, go to a demographic website and then put the zip code in. It'll literally tell you how many people are married in the zip code, how many single women versus married women, how many, they'll tell you all of these statistics and you could just literally, I did a live stream on real estate and I showed you the differences between different zip codes with higher marriage rates versus lower marriage rates. I literally did it on the live stream like a year or two ago. So like it is a major thing. And I know I know people don't like the truth, especially single mothers. The thing is this. All advice I could say is it's a mental behavior issue. It's two things I believe why a lot of women are having this issue with being a single mother or whatever. Maybe it might be three. One is a lot of women that obviously have single they're single with children. I mean, they basically most likely they just didn't know. They didn't, a lot of times, people don't know. They know after the fact. And the thing that they don't know is you can absolutely have sex with just about any person and make children. But that just because you can have sex with someone doesn't mean that you're compatible to have a long-term companionship type of relationship with someone. People are animals. We get all, pretty much, swap sperm and eggs and make babies. But in order to have a long-term cohesive relationship with someone, you have to have some type of compatibility. It has to be some type of chemistry with one another, all kinds of things. And to be honest, a lot of people don't know this. And even older people, they don't know this, or they don't believe it's true, or they, they live their life in a totally in the opposite direction of that common sense. They still, try to go out and just have sex with random people and hoping that they can, hoping the relationship sticks. And that's just not how it works. It's certain people that you're just compatible with. It's very simple. Do you like talking to this person? Do y'all actually have shit in common? Do y'all actually like being around each other? Do y'all, okay, you can actually live with the person, or if you probably had, some type of, intercourse, y'all probably spent the night. Y'all actually enjoy each other's company, you know, go on a vacation for about 3 days, a pre-honeymoon vacation. Go, did y'all actually enjoy that vacation with each other? Did you guys argue with each other on the vacation? You guys argue all the time. Well, the thing is like, you can street with someone. It's just the three C's. I just call it the three C's: compatibility, cohesion, chemistry. And what I mean by cohesion, you probably understand chemistry, but cohesion is, do you guys actually have things that you both enjoy each other's company with? It could be sex. One of those things could be sex. It could be the love of birds or whatever. Do you have something that you that connects and bind you guys together? Though that's cohesion. You like actually being around each other and naturally enjoy each other's company. Those things are for long-term relationships. If you want children, you can pick anybody just about, for the most part, and most of the time it probably will have healthy children. Depending on how fertile you are, how healthy you are, and how healthy he is. But to have, just because you can have children with someone, it doesn't mean that you're going to actually have a healthy long-term relationship with this person. It doesn't work like that. And unfortunately, a lot of people, even young and old, they don't understand that. Everybody's not compatible with each other. Everybody does not have good chemistry with each other. They don't have good cohesion with one another. I mean, you could throw out cohesion. You just say chemistry and compatibility. Like, most people do not have chemistry and compatibility. They might have a little chemistry because they actually like having sex with each other, but they're not compatible. This person has this viewpoint on this, and they was raised like this, and they have these behaviors that they can't cook or clean, or they can't shut their mouth. They like to argue. You don't like to argue. That's incompatibility. People watch my YouTube, hopefully young people, they probably getting this from, me than, even their parents. Their parents are not telling them this. Their parents are just giving them general ideas like, keep your books open and your legs closed, don't bring no babies home and all of that. That doesn't help you basically find your true partner. Those ideas do not help you with the long-term reality of, someone is going to want to be with someone, and how to actually find the right person. And that is, yes, you have to be compatible. You have to have good chemistry. You have to be in alignment with one another. You have to be right. Like a lot of women, they're incompatible. They're not compatible with no one. Because if you're a woman that trying to run men and bossy and all of that type of shit and masculine as fuck, wearing the pants in relationships, that's not gonna work other than a wimp or weak simp that's just gonna let you run him till you drive him crazy or drive him off the cliff. That's not going to work. You're going to be in incompatibility with most men on the planet because you're in alignment with your very, true nature. You're supposed to be the submissive one in the relationship. For whatever reason, you believe that you're supposed to be dominant and you don't want to take anything what somebody says. Well, that's all of that means is you have behavioral incompatibilities that are not aligned with most men. Any man other than a man that acts like a woman that lets other women rule them or run over them, like, almost like a lavender relationship, with a relationship with a gay man, right? Like, how can you get? So it's like, yeah, a lot of women are incompatible. A lot of men are incompatible. They can't keep their hands off. They want to beat every woman they come across. They want to beat a woman that don't give them the number, that rejects them. They're incompatible as well. Like, they should be locked up somewhere behind a cage, like they're animals. You know, um, Wild animals. And it's like, yeah, it is just men that are just incompatible with any woman, and it's women that are incompatible with any man. It's like these things we're not taught this. Our parents didn't know this probably themselves because they was retarded. And they just basically you didn't understand this till late. Like, it's like, yeah, you can't just you can get with any man. A woman can get with any man, have a baby, have a good time, or not, and then get pregnant, and then, yeah, like, but to have that person in your life and everything like that, it takes a certain level of give and take and compatibility and also chemistry for that long-term relationship to work. And I believe cohesion has a part to it because cohesion also means binding together. Well, if you guys are not able to bind together and pay the bills together and help each other and do for each other, like, that's not going to work. It's not going to work in a long-term relationship. You know what I'm saying? So, that's my advice from a person that, was married. I came from a family of marriage, and I tried it out, and I know where I messed up. I just, a lot of things is I learned after the fact, but at least I learned nonetheless. So so now if you haven't already made a decision, now, or you basically can live through my mistakes. So it's like, yeah, that's my take on this. I just wanted to kind of go live to show this article, these different bullet points and things from this chat, AI or whatever. So hopefully you find this interesting. Like, share, subscribe. Already got a couple likes. I appreciate you already for liking the video, the ones that already liked it. So I guess this was a decent topic. Okay, usually when I get some likes, some pre-likes, the topic is on point. I was pretty fair. I wasn't you know I think I do have some women that listen to me. And I think I'm pretty fair. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty down the middle. I'm a guy that still deals with women. I deal with primarily black women. Like, I mean, I do admit, I mean, I'm not an angel. I may have added to this, you know, statistic or issue as far as what I'm reading. I will even admit that, but yeah, like I try to be fair and down the middle, as far as much as I possibly can. But yeah, this is something that, for the future is definitely, and already presently is a lot of issues. Okay, so I hope this is something that you are interested in. If you are, hit the like, comment, share, subscribe.